Hey guys, Blazen here. So, I'll be honest, originally I wasn't really going to make this video just because, at least in my opinion, the Terminus level enemies, there's not much to look into them. It's just trial and error. But, by popular demand that I've been seeing you guys in the comments, and also that I've noticed these kinds of videos are doing well, essentially analyzing the enemy attacks and attack patterns, here's the video. Of course, you can tell by the title, we'll be covering all the Terminus level enemies that are in the game as of this video. And of course, thank you guys for watching these, liking these, of course commenting, because of course without you, this video wouldn't exist. Now first we're going to start with the Tyranid Terminus enemies, and then we're going to go into the Chaos Terminus enemies. Alright, we're going to be starting with the Carnifex. Let's do this.
All specs ready to scan.
So first, here's this range attack. There's actually two ways you can do this. And while this is going on, I want to explain that when it comes to Terminus level enemies, you can't just spam dodge or parry against Terminus level enemies. You can kind of get away with that with Majors and Extremis, but I think the big thing as to why maybe some people may struggle against Terminus level enemies is just the fact that you cannot spam parry or dodge. You actually have to properly look at their animations and time them. Like if I stand rolling right in this situation, I would probably get hit in the second hit and will get stun locked, because you will get stunned if this hits you. So this first range attack fires in 3-round bursts, and just take your time and properly dodge them. And immediately right after that, the Carnifex will pull its spikes off the ground, and this does count as an attack. This goes for any time the Carnifex puts its spike on the ground, and every time it pulls its spikes off the ground, it counts as an attack. It cannot be blocked, you have to dodge it. And as you can see in the background, the Carnifex will attack with its quad spiked appendages, and this is pretty much going to be the main attack when you're up close to it. I'm kind of doing this all in one take, like in this one encounter, because literally all of its attacks were shown in this one encounter. The only thing I will say is that when attempting to block these spiked attacks, depending on where you are, like in the front, you'll get the timing down, but if you're around its sides and especially behind it, the timing will change slightly if you decide to block. Some other notes I'd like to mention is that sometimes, depending on the distance, like maybe you're not too close or not too far, but sometimes he will lunge with like a full 360 spin. But all of these spiked swipes are blockable. So here is another attack it'll do if you're too far away. At least this attack does glow orange, giving you time to prepare and dodge. And again, don't spam dodge, wait and then dodge. I'm not sure if this move has tracking properties in the air, like sometimes the Bone Sword Tyranids do when they do this kind of attack. Perfect timing. Thanks, Mr. Carnifex. The other lunging attack that it'll also do from a distance is just your classic bull run. Now the thing to note about this attack is that if there is no wall around you, and this is out in the open field, he will do this repeatedly, like back and forth, up to what feels like 10 times. I actually don't know the exact amount of times. But here, as you can see, I got lucky as there happens to be a wall behind me. So if the Carnifex starts to do his bull run move, whoever's getting attacked, needs to find a wall behind them in order to get it stunned. That way this will give it room and opportunity for everybody to attack it while it is stunned. And just like the last move, it does glow orange, so you cannot block it, you have to dodge it. And finally, here's a second way he fires his projectiles from his back. It seems like sometimes when you're at point blank range against the Carnifex, it will shoot at you point blank, but in full auto mode. Whereas before, as you saw, it shot in 3-round bursts. I have seen him shoot in full auto from a distance, but that's not very common. It'll most likely be point blank range. And that's pretty much it on the Carnifex. I'm pretty sure I didn't miss anything. I'm pretty sure that's all of its attacks. And again, the main takeaway from not just the Carnifex, but this entire video, if anything, is just properly time your dodges and blocks. That's really it. That is the main takeaway from this video. Alright, moving on to the Neurothrope. Alright, so the only thing I want to go over with the Neurothrope is just this specific attack sequence. So when the Neurothrope casts this electric bullshit around it specifically, that means the next guaranteed attack is actually going to be the one where it comes down closer to the ground and starts to do its like pulsating radius attack. This is a good and a bad thing. The bad thing obviously is that pulsating radius attack that you have to dodge, and the attack radius is huge. And 2, it has basically a bubble shield around it, so you can't shoot it. So the only way to attack it is actually get in bubble shield and deal damage that way. The only good thing about this is that the Neurothrope, since he's closer to the ground, you actually have the opportunity to melee it. This is important especially for Bulwark players because, well, they only have a secondary, and once you're out of ammo, you can't do shit. And this is why I have more respect for the Neurothrope over the Zoanthrope, because the Zoanthrope doesn't give you any opportunity to melee it at all. And also the fact that it doesn't constantly shield itself, and it only fires one beam attack. It is really big, but it's only one, and it is slower and much more reactable compared to the Zoanthropes. And of course the fact that there's only one big ball of shit rather than 2 pieces of shit.
Tyranid invasion thwarted.
Turn to fight. I do not trust this.
So let's take a look at that string again. The initial whip attack is actually very similar to the Lash Whip Tyranid, Major's enemy. Except the only noticeable thing is that the second hit is actually parryable. As you see, the second attack has no orange glow. But once you miss that second window, the rest of the attacks are unblockable. Oh, and something very noteworthy to point out about the initial Lash Whip attack is that this seems to be very unique to the Hive Tyrant, but he actually has a mix-up with the Lash Whip attack. You'll see a similar string, and I'll point it out when we get to it. Just want to point this out, Pretty much the same thing with the Carnifex. It still has its third spiked appendage, and you know, every time he puts a spike on the ground and when he pulls it out, it does damage. But sometimes he will stab in the same place multiple times. And as you can see, his spike will get stuck on the ground, and this is a great opportunity for everybody to shoot it. And especially throwing grenades. And again, avoid where the spike is and get away before he pulls it out. And here is 1 out of 2 attacks that are actually blue. And sometimes you may miss it or just not prepare for it because 90% of the time his attacks are unblockable. Now to analyze this string real quick, the first 2 attacks are parryable, but the last attack is unblockable. And again, here's a similar attack like the Carnifex. He will run at you if he decides he wants to challenge you next. And if you notice, he actually does yell at you before he runs towards you. As well as you can see, it glows orange, so be prepared to dodge it. Now here's the second Lash Whip attack I mentioned earlier. If you notice, this string of attacks is very different compared to the first string I showed. And as far as I'm aware, this is the second blue attack he'll give you. So obviously the initial Lash Whip is unblockable, but the next 3 attacks are parryable. And I'll show a quick comparison after this. Now here, this isn't really much of an analyzation and more or less is a tip from me, but whenever the Hive Tyrant starts to summon green electricity from the air, what I like to do is actually walk, but still fire from the hip. Your walking speed is still fast enough to be able to dodge the glowing green electricity bullshit. So you can literally do what I do here and just walk around and just hip fire. Unless if you're a heavy class using the heavy bolter, I'd recommend switching to your pistol and just walk around and keep shooting while firing from the hip. This way you're still dealing damage as you're dodging the electricity shit. And I'm sure plenty of you guys have seen this already, but during its second phase, its sword will start to gain projectile properties, and the Hive Tyrant will fire them up to 3 times. And sometimes he'll only fire once, but always be prepared for 3. And it is possible to dodge all of them. The further you are away, the easier it is to dodge. The closer you are, the harder it is for you to dodge them. Moving on to the Helbrute, starting off with its plasma cannon. It's very simple, it shoots up to 4 times, and the timing is very consistent once you get it down. So just take your time and dodge each shot. Next, here's this 2-hitting hammer string. It's a pretty common attack, and he'll most likely do it from a distance like you see here. And both of these attacks are blockable. Next, here's this unblockable hammer attack, and you can actually tell it's going to be the unblockable version because if you notice the hammer powers up before he actually slams down. So just pay attention to the hammer and you'll be able to avoid this, even before the orange icon warns you to dodge.
My weapon is dry.
Next, here's another unblockable hammer attack, but the startup animation is different. As you can see, he yells and he immediately glows orange. This is the type of hammer attack where he'll slam multiple times on the ground, basically letting you know that this is the big AoE attack. Next, here's what the plasma cannon looks like while he's charging it up. And as you can see, it looks really dumb because for some reason, the shot kind of starts from his elbow and not from the gun's barrel, which really threw me off and I ended up taking some burn damage. But moving on from that, unlike our plasma weapons that we use, his charged plasma cannon actually leaves a burning residue along its trajectory, which you can see that it's on the floor. So stay away from that shit. And finally, the last attack I want to go over is its teleport attack, which is very simple. It's just a simple hammer strike and it is blockable. And that's pretty much it on the Helbrute. Eventually you will get its hammer swings down and the timing, and that's really all it takes. I'm pretty sure that's all of the Helbrute's moves, and with that said, let's move on to the Heldrake.
This is a fine day indeed. Cleave the Heldrake, crush the beacon. The beast protects the beacon. We will eliminate the foe.
And that's pretty much it, guys. Those are all the Terminus level enemies in the game currently. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, share the video around, and leave a comment down below on what you think of these Terminus level enemies, or if there's anything I missed. And until next time, peace.